Okay, so today we are working on Ford 2011 Ford Fusion with the 3.5 liter V6. We're fixing a couple problems at the same time. We have three codes. We have a P0171, which is system 2 lean. We have injector problems is what it is. I already replaced 3 of them. I'm going to replace the other 3 today. And then we also have P0022, which is a camshaft position over retarded. And what that is just a problem with the VVT, the variable valve timing actuator, which is right here. So what is happening is that's gummed up, so the variable valve timing is off, so it's got a little bit of a rough run. And then we have a Misfire too. I don't remember, I think it's 303, P0303, which is the code. So we're replacing fuel injectors, and we are replacing the variable valve timing actuator. And so these are the tools that we're going to be using today. We got a nice little zippity doodad to make life easy. The cool thing about the Fords is everything's an 8mm. Or most everything's an 8mm. So you need an 8mm socket, get a little 8mm wrench, got our plier tool there for removing our clamps, a little plastic tool here for popping all the plastic brackets off, and then a torque wrench for when we put everything back together. And also, one specialty tool that you need when you're working on the fuel system is the fuel line disconnect set. You can borrow these, rent these from O'Reilly or AutoZone for super cheap. And then these are our parts. I got all of the parts off of Rock Auto, which is a great site. You can get quality parts at wholesale prices, because you know those auto parts stores like O'Reilly and AutoZone, they be jacking this up. So we got Bosch fuel injectors. These are 30 bucks a piece off of Rock Auto. And then we have our variable valve timing. I don't know about this brand, but they have the quality's broken down, and this is one of the better quality ones on Rock Auto. So this is that part. Let's see if we can open it up and show you guys what it looks like here. That's in the wrapping there. I'll break it out later so you can see, but that's the actuator there that we are replacing. Hopefully that's the right one. It seems like it's right. Yeah. So for the process for the fuel injectors, pretty much everything, it's the same process. So we're going to take out the battery, which is 8mm nuts, and then we got to take the air filter and air intake system out, remove the throttle body, and then remove the intake manifold. And then after that, we'll have to take out the fuel rail to do the injectors, which is pretty easy. I'll show you guys when we get there. And then to replace this guy, we got to take this valve cover off. So probably this job for the fuel injectors is a couple hours, and the VVT on itself is probably a couple hours, but since it's relatively in the same area, the whole job hopefully isn't going to take us more than 3 hours. So stay tuned, watch the video. If you guys got any questions, comment down below. You know, usually I'm working on our trucks for the transport company. This is girlfriend's car. I gotta make sure it's running right. So stay tuned. One thing I forgot to mention that you always need whenever you're working on a car is a nice cold beer. And if you aren't drinking IPA, sir, then you need to refine your taste. That hits the spot. Okay, so get the battery out, get the air intake off, got the throttle body off, and you gotta disconnect hose here, this hose here, this hose back here, and then this wiring harness runs across there. So you gotta disconnect it and try not to break it, which is pretty much impossible when it's heated to shit. Then you got this little coolant return hose that stretches across to here. So you wanna pull that off, get it out of your way. Now we just gotta go across and break all these bolts. You got one here, 2 back here, 3, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 bolts to take off, and then the manifold comes out. Okay, so throttle body's off, or not the throttle body, the intake manifold. Little pile of parts here. Make sure that whenever you take a battery out, you don't set it directly on the concrete because it'll draw the charge out. It takes a while, but you know, might as well don't want to weaken your battery if you don't have to. Now, important thing that you need to make sure that you do, and I can tell you from personal experience, is that you need to cover up any holes that you expose that go down into the engine there. These are the intake, air intake section. And the reason you want to do that is because you don't want dirt and debris, and you don't want to drop shit in there because you won't be able to get it out. And let me tell you, that sucks. It really sucks. So plug your hole. All right. So I got some paper towel shoved down those holes so I don't drop anything in there. And then I got my wiring harness all loosened up here and out of the way. Now it's time to remove the fuel rail. It's going by pretty quick. There's 4 bolts. 1, 2, and then 3, 4. You gotta make sure you take all the fuel injector clips off. And then it's time for the fun part. Okay, so this is what the tool looks like here. It's just a pair of pliers that fit around the tube so you can pull in, because it's like a barb connector, like the shark bite clips. So you have to pull in against it and then pull the pipe away. Last time we did this, we had to fab up a piece of copper pipe, and this is way easier. I'm doing this first before I take the fuel rail off to let it have time to relieve pressure. The car's been off for a while, so I'm hoping all the pressure in the fuel line went away, but just in case. There we go. Still a little bit of fuel in there, but it's not too bad. All right, so that's disconnected. Time to pull the fuel rail off. Fuel rail just pops out all in one piece, like so. Oh. Let's go drain this sucker. It's pretty hot. Sorry, Mother Nature. A little gift for the gods. All right. These are our injectors here. And then the connection, this little piece right there. So you can see inside what it looks like. It's got those little clamps you gotta depress. Now time to do the injectors. These back 3 were replaced. The problem one is this one right here, number 5. Problem the middle cylinder on the front. I bought 3 more to replace all of them. When it comes to doing fuel injectors, like they suggest, you should just replace them all when you do them. That way you don't have to do them again. So, yeah. So when you're doing this, there's a little clip right there. You gotta work that clip off first. And then the fuel injector pops out. It's the old one. And it's not too dirty. It's because I already cleaned the shit out of these ones before I put them back in. And you can see it's a little worse shape than the new one there. And the new one just goes back in, like so. And we flip those back on. Boom. That's it. Time to do the other two. Okay, so the fuel rail is done, installed, injector's done. Now we're gonna move on to the VVT actuator, which is this guy right here. So in order to do that, you gotta pop the valve cover off. So we're gonna have to take the injector plugs out. I think that's what they're called. And then pop that sucker off and replace that, which shouldn't be too hard. Obviously all the other stuff is necessary, minus the fuel rail portion that you have to do the injectors for. So check. Let's do it. So we got all the bolts loose. Now I'm just trying to get this valve cover off here. I'm in a little bit of trouble. There we go. That sucker's just baked on there. Ah. Ooh, that's hot. Okay, so that valve cover seal is just baked on there. Now I probably should replace that since I'm taking it off, but ain't nobody got time for that. And here is our problem child right here. So it looks like just one bolt and that sucker should just come right on out of there. Let's do it. There we go. Alright, so there's our old one right there, and here's the new one. They seem to be identical, which is always good. I mean, I don't really see any visual signs of decay, but you can see here, this one has those little rubber filters. I can see those getting plugged up. This one, this aftermarket one, is just made of metal. And it's got metal strainers in there. So hopefully that should fix the problem. We'll see. Alright, now all that's left is reassembly, and we're gonna fire her up and we will see how she does. Yeah, it feels about right there. Okay, so the torque specs for the valve cover is 15 foot-pounds. Just right about there. And it says to go in a crisscross pattern, so we're gonna start up here, right-hand corner, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll just do the rest. So it's 15 foot-pounds and 180-degree turn. Might have just stripped that one. Oops. I guess maybe not 180 degrees. That one fucking broke, bro. Well, I'm sure it'll be fine with one less bolt. So my time lapse cut out, but everything's back in. Manifold's back in. Hoses, wires, hose, wire, everything's torqued down. So unfortunately, the torque specs on the intake manifold are 89 inch-pounds, which is like 7.5 foot-pounds on a big torque wrench, and then you're supposed to do a quarter turn. And then the torque specs on the valve cover are, it was 15 foot-pounds. Now, and then 180 degree turn. Unfortunately, I snapped 2 of the valve cover bolts doing that 180 degree turn. So I wouldn't do that if I were you. That's what I looked up. Maybe the internet was wrong. Maybe they're just old bolts. Maybe my torque wrench was off. I don't know. Hopefully that, I mean, at the most it's going to cause some leak issues. I know where they are, so I'll keep an eye on them. If push comes to shove, I'll have to get 2 new bolts and get them out of there and put new ones in. But it's the moment of truth. So everything's back on. Hoses are connected. Wires are connected. Everything's torqued down as it should be, minus 2 bolts. So we're going to see how it runs. All the code should be cleared because the battery's been out for like 2 hours. Yeah, let's see. So, when you are doing anything, if you lose pressure on the fuel system, you want to give it a chance to prime all the way back up. So you want to flip the key on and off a couple times. Just to make sure the fuel's pressurized. Alright, and real quick, I'm just going to check to make sure I don't have any leaks on the fuel rail. Which I don't see any. So I think we're good. So let's fire up and see how she runs. So a bit of a rough idle starting up. Let's see if the check engine light comes on. You can see the RPM gauge going back down. That's what it does when it cools up. So far, now check engine light. It was a little rough when it started up there, but now I don't really feel a rough idle at all. So I think we fixed the problem there. We'll see. I'll take her on the road, and if there's any problems, I'll update you guys. But it seems like we're doing good. So that was fuel injectors and VVT Acctuator, Solenoid. We had 3 codes. So far, no check engine light, so I think we got rid of them. We at least solved the misfire problem, and it seems like we solved the rough idle problem. We'll get it out on the road, and we'll see if there's any issues. I'm going to throw some injector cleaner in there, even though they're new injectors, just to be safe there when I fill up. And yeah, guys, smash that like button, subscribe.
This is a little bit of a off video from what I usually do, but figured, you know, some people would be looking for the video somewhere when they're working on their girlfriend's car. So let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. If you guys done this job before, and if you got any input, love to hear it. And I'll catch you on the next video. Boom.